The 13th game you beat was PT.
Oh.
What are your first thoughts?
First thought that pops in my mind is overrated. Second thing that pops in my mind is not a game, which Jake will appreciate.
Jake will like that, yeah.
Because I agree, PT's not really a game. It is a interactive trailer.
But it's beatable.
But here's the thing about PT. The version we played, because we don't have a PS4 that has PT installed on it. We played a fan-made Unreal Engine version of PT that, no, I'm hearing it into my head.
Our Unreal garbage.
Our Unreal garbage, yeah, I heard it in my head. The one that we played was very close to the original PT. The thing that game did not have that was in the original PT is once you beat the game, the screen would go white. It would play the same song that's in the intro for Silent Hill 1. And then Norman Reedus from The Walking Dead, who's also the main character in Death Stranding, you'd see his face and he's walking down a street. As he's walking down the street, he'd kind of look at the camera. He'd continue walking and it's playing that familiar Silent Hill song from Silent Hill 1 on the PlayStation 1, and then the words would fade in Silent Hills. So the purpose of PT was to get people pumped and excited about a new Silent Hill game that was coming out that was going to be directed by Hideo Kojima and Guillermo del Toro. So it's not a game, it's just a trailer. I mean, PT stands for playable teaser. So I guess that's what it is. It's a playable teaser.
But did the reveal of Silent Hills thing not show up unless you beat it?
Right, you had to beat it in order to actually get the reveal of Silent Hills.
I'm not going to try to argue with Jake without him being here.
Okay.
But he kept saying you're not supposed to beat it. That's why I was wondering, is there something I'm missing here?
Yeah.
So why do you think this playable trailer is so loved? Why do you think people protect it and defend it?
I think it's because the game never came out. It's the game that everybody wanted and never got to have. I feel the same with Pendragon Saga. It's the game that no one really got to play because by the time it came out, everyone moved on to the Dreamcast. So those who did get to play it were like, look at what you're missing out on. You know, you didn't get to play Pendragon Saga? Too bad. You know, I think it was the same thing with PT. It's like, you didn't download this for free on your PlayStation 4? Too bad. I think PT really is mob mentality. The few that hyped it up got recognition. Yeah, it's definitely one of those Eric Cartman things. It's the Cartman land syndrome. You can get in and be part of the park, but nobody else can.
Therefore, everybody wants it.
Therefore, everybody wants it.
But because it does exist now as something you can download and at least experience, why has that remained?
Well, because a lot of people can argue, well, it's not the real thing. That was Jake's argument. It's not the real thing. Even though from what I have watched on YouTube of the real thing, they were awfully close. I started playing it with like, ooh, this is scary, you know, because we're listening to the radio. It's raining outside, you know. You got that lamp that's swinging back and forth and creaking and stuff like that. And then what started off as suspenseful quickly became annoying. The swinging lamp was like, ooh, this is kind of creepy. And then you walk through the hallway again, and you still hear that noise. And you're like, okay, I'm trying to think about what I'm supposed to do to try to figure this puzzle out and what I'm missing. And that lamp is constantly going in the background, and it's really annoying. There was all this subtleness about the game that I really liked. The radio that you walk by and they're talking about, you know, a dad who murdered his entire family. They're setting up the foreshadowing, you know, of like what's going to happen. They did a good job with presentation as far as the build-up. But where they failed, in my opinion, is, well, for one thing, those puzzles were ridiculously hard. So you're doing a lot of backtracking, even though it's one hallway. We were going back and forth on that hallway, back and forth. We would walk from one room all the way to the next room. We'd walk through the door to reset the room, and we just kept going up and down that hallway being like, how in the world do we get this story to continue? And eventually you and I had to resort to walkthroughs. And I don't know if this was such a problem in the original PT, but in the Unreal PT, there was some stupid puzzle pieces that we had to find. Like there'd be like a ripped up photograph, and it would be like a couple pixels, but it would be stuck like in the corner of the ceiling of a wall, where it looked like when you at first glance, it just looked like a crack in the wall, or like paint coming off a wall. You know, because the game looks so good, it'd be easy to look at that and be like, oh look, that wall's peeling. Well, no, actually that happens to be a piece of a photograph that you need in order to make the story continue. And I don't know if this was a result of playing our Unreal garbage, but I thought it was really interesting that in our first playthrough, where we got stuck, and we had to look up a walkthrough, we actually never saw Lisa. And then even in our second playthrough, when we were trying to show Jake and Lisa did pop up, the only part of that game that ended up being scary was the one big jump scare, which was Lisa coming after you. My first playthrough of PT was just pure frustration. Like, it started off, oh, this is cool, this is interesting, oh wow, the whole thing repeats, this is really, really unique. And then you find the baby and you're like, oh, well, it's very David Lynch, you know? And then you have the head in the paper bag that starts talking to you, and you're like, okay, well, you know, Guillermo del Toro, you know, he's on Criterion Collection.
Pretty much a genius mastermind of storytelling.
The game relies on jump scares. I don't care what people say on the internet. The game is just one big jump scare. The puzzles are really frustrating. That lamp swinging in the hallway is really annoying. The crying baby in the bathroom is like a direct ripoff of David Lynch's Eraserhead. Probably the only original thing about it is just the repetitive hallway. I mean, that's something going for it.
Yeah, I think that would have been cool if it worked. It would have been kind of like disturbing.
I think PT is one of the most overrated games of all time. And it really frustrates me as someone who enjoys survival horror or horror games in general that this game, it's not really a game. People treat it as a game. People have said it's one of the greatest games ever made, one of the greatest horror games ever made, or one of the scariest horror games. I hear all these claims. And in my opinion, it was none of that. I mean, I can make anybody jump, put my face in the camera. I'm not going to, but it's not good. It really wasn't. It's too bad about Silent Hills not coming out. That would have been awesome. Sure, would have been a lot better.
To just rate your experience with it.
My experience with it.
What would it be?
6.7. It wasn't very good. I didn't like it. By the time I was done with it, I was burnt out. And it's a short game. I was burnt out on it. I was like, I'm sick of hearing this baby crying. I'm sick of hearing this chandelier swinging in the vestibule. It wasn't a good game. It was annoying.
Well, the way it's supposed to work is over a certain amount of time, Lisa's supposed to kill you.
She never did.
Well, that's not how it's supposed to work.
Then why did it happen that way?
I don't know. You're playing your Unreal garbage.